Now on a special edition of KGW News, ringing in the new year from New York to the Northwest. See the unique celebrations happening close to home. Plus, changes are coming in 2024, from a plan to open up more housing in Oregon to increases in utility rates. We've got a wrap of the new laws and rules for the new year. Plus,
people of color are being killed and no one is saying anything about it.
as Portland sees a drop in the number of homicides, we talk to some in the community working to stop the cycle of violence.
This is a KGW News Special Edition.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Art Edwards. Safety on the roads is top of mind for many people this New Year's Eve. We already saw a deadly crash in southeast Portland earlier today. More on that in just a moment. And there's concern about street racing and that it could pose added danger to some city streets tonight as many are out celebrating. It follows street takeovers in at least 2 spots in the city last night. Ashley Grams is live in the newsroom. Ashley, you spoke with a few people who were impacted by all the disruption.
I did, Art. Today I saw dozens of comments on social media about street racing in several parts of Portland, one of them on Marine Drive. Take a look. You can see cars doing donuts, blocking the road, and dozens of spectators watching the action. Traffic backed up around the scene, but this wasn't the only location to see dangerous stunts and crowds of onlookers last night. Drivers tell us the intersection of Cully and Prescott in northeast Portland was blocked off in the same manner. A rideshare driver with a passenger in the car saw it all unfold.
It stops traffic for one, but for the big thing, and this is the main reason why I hate it, is it's a major safety issue. People have died because of this. People have been killed because of this.
The driver told me the takeover lasted nearly an hour at Cully and Prescott. He did call police, but he did not see any officers at the scene. We did reach out to Portland police to ask if any arrests were made or if they plan to step up patrols tonight, and we have not heard back. Art?
Thank you, Ashley. Developing tonight, police are investigating a crash that killed a motorcyclist and put a second person in the hospital. This was the scene on 122nd near Stark at about 3 o'clock this afternoon. Investigators say the motorcycle collided with a car. They haven't said at this point what caused the crash. A passenger on the motorcycle was sent to the hospital in critical condition. This is actually the 3rd deadly crash on Southeast 122nd in just the last week. And as the New Year's Eve parties begin around Portland, officials are hoping to keep the roads safer for those who are out and about tonight by offering free rides home. TriMet buses and trains and the Portland streetcar are now free to ride for the rest of the night. Max trains will also run longer past 2 a.m. If you're in Vancouver, C-Tran rides are also free, with some routes extending into the early morning as well.
Portland has had a record number of traffic deaths this year, many involving alcohol. We don't want people to become a statistic.
You may also be able to get your ride reimbursed if you take an Uber or a Lyft. Demore Law Group, a Portland-based personal injury law firm, is providing 100 reimbursements to local residents. Send a copy of your ride receipt and your photo ID to the firm. It is first come, first serve. Well, we are just hours away from 2024, and so far the last weekend of 2023 has really been on the quiet side. Let's check in with meteorologist Joe Ranieri right now with what people are going to be seeing as they ring in the new year. Joe?
And they are going to be seeing some very quiet conditions as you get ready to wrap up 2023 and head into 2024. Right now, let's go out to downtown Portland. Temperature of 45 degrees. Now, I told you this, Art, last night that there's a chance a lot of us won't really see much of the clouds lift today, and that was the case throughout much of the metro area. We saw some sun breaks here and there, but not a whole lot. But as we look in downtown Portland, all this quiet, overcast skies, and if you're going to be out celebrating here in the next couple of hours, we're going to be looking at temperatures here right around midnight in the low 40s. Overnight lows will be dropping down into the upper 30s. But the one thing you're going to be running into if you're going to be traveling at all, hitting the roads, you are going to be seeing some low visibility in a few locations. We're still going to be seeing some of that dense fog roll in again, especially down in the central and southern part of the Willamette Valley, where visibility is down to a half a mile. And these conditions are just going to get worse heading into the overnight hours and into tomorrow morning as well. I'm expecting to see many of us waking up to 2024 with some dense areas of fog, but we will have that ridge of high pressure in place that'll keep things really dry, at least for the start of the week. I'll talk more about what you can expect to see heading into the rest of this week, and of course the mountain snow. Things are looking pretty good, Art, up in the Oregon Cascades later this week. I'll talk more about that in a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Joe. Look forward to it. As 2023 comes to an end, Portland police say that they have seen a significant decrease in the number of homicides. But there were still 74 people killed in the city this year. And for families left waiting for justice, that number is still way too high. Sydney Dorner sat down with a young woman who lost 2 family members to gun violence in Portland.
Asianique Savage grew up right here in Northeast Portland, where her mother was gunned down on the family's porch when she was just 5. In February of this year, her younger brother was also shot and killed at just 20 years old. Many people would wonder how a young woman would survive such tragedy. She says helping others just like her is the best way to heal.
You know, when you grow up with siblings, you grow up very tight-knit already because of trauma, so you love so hard. And my little brother, he was my bestie, my little broke bestie. We did everything together, and it was just traumatizing.
Asianique Savage is still carrying the weight of losing her brother and mother to gun violence.
You go through a phase where you don't want to sleep because you think you're going to get a phone call, another phone call. You see, you're constantly checking on your people.
Savage says the way police treat the families of homicide victims adds to their agony.
They did not treat my family with respect at all, and that whole process was terrible.
Savage's younger brother, Tyjuan James, was shot and killed a little less than a year ago after a fight outside a bar in Southeast Portland. Savage says police treated her with suspicion when she arrived to the crime scene.
And I kept saying, like, this is my brother, this is my brother, this is my family. My name is Asianique. I'm here for Tyjuan James. Like, where's, like, what's going on? And they tried to pull me out my car. They tried to draw guns on me. They were screaming in my face.
Savage says the next day, police showed her a video of how her brother was killed.
There's video of people going through his pockets and dragging him across the ground. You know, it was just very inhumane.
No one has been arrested in James's death. Just months after he was killed, Asianique became the manager of Oregon's Alliance for Gun Safety. Now she advocates for gun control policies, hoping others won't feel the pain she did.
People of color are being killed and no one is saying anything about it. And I feel like everybody is doing a lot of talking and not a lot of action. I'm doing it for my community. You know, I grew up on these streets. I've walked down MLK my whole life.
Savage credits her growth to community organizations that kept her on track during her younger years. Lionel Irving leads one of them. He says he's been on both sides of the gun and was just released from prison a few years ago. Since his release, he's been mentoring youth here in Portland with direct family ties to the gang lifestyle.
Because the police should be going out there trying to arrest the assailant. It's our job as the community members in the city of Portland to get around the family that have youth in there that have suffered from gun violence, because they're potentially the next shooters.
As for police, even though homicide numbers have come down, they say the caseload is still high for the amount of staff they have.
We are kind of coming out of a really difficult period where, police were preoccupied with civil disorder incidents. Now we've been able to kind of refocus on what we primarily do, which is the crime.
The 74 homicides in Portland in 2023, leaving a toll on families, the community, and investigators. Sydney Dorner, KGW News.
As the new year already underway in the Middle East, Israeli strikes in centralized Gaza killed another 35 people on Sunday. The new bombardment comes a day after Israel's prime minister said that the war in Gaza will continue for many more months, resisting international calls for a ceasefire. There is growing concern fighting could explode in the entire region. U.S. forces shot and killed several Iran-backed rebels when they tried to attack a cargo ship in the Red Sea. In Portland earlier tonight, a group calling for a ceasefire in Gaza and for a free Palestine marched through downtown Portland. They blocked traffic for a time on the Morrison Bridge. Protests like this one happened in other cities as well. Demonstrators hope to disrupt New Year's Eve celebrations to draw attention to the number of people who have been killed by Israeli military forces in Gaza. Protests did happen earlier today in New York. That is something that they have been preparing for as they set up their famed New Year's Eve celebration in Times Square. This is a live look at the crowd there at this hour. Revelers are already getting ready to ring in midnight in just about 20 minutes or so. Security is tight in New York City, with police blocking off an even wider zone around the square than usual. Thousands of police officers are roaming the crowd as well. So far, no reports of any major disruptions. An estimated 1 million people have packed the square to watch a lineup of music performers and, of course, the big ball drop at midnight. While Portland doesn't have the ball to drop, we do have a cherry drop. You're looking live at Milwaukee, Oregon, where they plan to lower a 7-foot lighted Bing cherry to celebrate the new year. Now, to keep the event family friendly, they'll be celebrating East Coast midnight and dropping the cherry at 9 o'clock. We'll give you the replay tonight on KGW News at 11. Now, if you're wondering why a cherry, the Bing cherry, as it turns out, was invented near what is now Milwaukee. In addition to the New Year's event, the city commissioned a cherry sculpture that was installed in the downtown sculpture garden. A Chinese nursery foreman named Bing created the variety that has become the most popular of its kind. The owner of that nursery has already been honored. The Milwaukee Arts Commission wanted to make sure that Bing was too.
Steph Llewellyn has had a lot of buildings and neighborhoods and schools named after him here in Milwaukee, but we haven't really celebrated Bing and his contributions. So that's part of what we're trying to do with this.
Milwaukee also had an official unveiling for the cherry sculpture earlier tonight. A crowd is gathering near the Space Needle in Seattle, where in just a few hours they will put on what organizers say is the biggest New Year's celebration in its 32-year history. The show will begin 7 minutes before midnight with a performance by 500 drones. Then, once the clock strikes midnight, fireworks will fill the night sky. They will be choreographed to a soundtrack celebrating the biggest moments of the year. Now, you can watch that celebration live right here on KGW immediately following KGW News at 11. It is all part of the Northwest New Year's Celebration Special. We'll also peek in on festivities in Spokane and right here in Portland, where partygoers will be gathered at the Art Museum for the annual Champagne Ball. You can watch everything right here on KGW, streaming on KGW Plus and KGW.com, starting at 11:30 tonight.